Today is probably one of the last relatively warm days of 2023. I think it's supposed to get up to about 72, which is great. We had our first light frost a couple nights ago. So this is the time of year that I come down to the garden and review, see how everything's doing, um, see what I could have done differently, see what lessons the garden has to offer as to where to plant certain things, timing of, putting plants out, things like that. But this year, I also learned the difference, that there is a difference between shame and regret. Shame tends to deal with condemnation and dishonor, that kind of thing. Regret is different. Regret is maybe wishing you had done things or said things differently. I also read something recently that said that regret is a form of grief for circumstance that was not realized. That's a perfect description of how I'm feeling at the end of this garden year. So, this is the garden. I have started to pull a lot of things out, but you can still see that there are tons of weeds besides end of the season decay of plants kind of thing. Still have some beautiful zinnias. This is my comfrey plant that I'm pretty pleased with. I started it from seed and wasn't sure if it was going to make it for a while there, especially when you realize that it had to compete with all this stuff. And there are the zinnias that were planted on purpose. This tangle was cosmos, and I didn't realize how tall cosmos could get. And we had a fair amount of wind this season, and one of the early storms blew this down, but stayed alive. My archway here still looks pretty good. It originally started with cucumbers over here, but powdery mildew was a thing this year. Mexican gherkins volunteered, and now on the other side here, it's really starting to die back so you can't see it in all its glory. But this was a spoon tomato, and you'll see here how tiny they are. And they don't really get much bigger than that. Uh, but this is how it's just massive. I planted loofahs and what I thought were birdhouse. Here are my loofahs. One, one hidden back in there, and another here. And these were supposed to be birdhouse gourds, but I don't believe these are, oh, another loofah. I don't believe this is the shape that birdhouse gourds are. This is probably one of my most prolific weeds. I'm not sure what it is. I should probably look it up. But it's got a very long taproot, so it's really good for my clay soil. And it's one of those plants that seems to attract the pests. So, in some ways, it helps out the other plants by taking over, the weight of the bugs that attack the plants. Here's the thing though, it's okay to grow a couple, but I have not learned what a couple is. I have them everywhere. I can't decide on what is the right amount, so I tend to leave too many. Oh, and look, more cosmos. So pretty. There's some asparagus that's gone to seed that I haven't had asparagus here in probably 10 years, if not more. But these two have decided to make a comeback, which makes me think maybe I should try again. This is definitely not a regret. I'm very pleased with this. This is my water catchment that I did this year. I didn't really use it to water the plants. I didn't really have to. It was pretty rainy this season. But next year I'd like to try hooking up some soaker hoses to it and see how that does. That's pretty good. Grass cut down, it definitely looks a lot more presentable, a lot neater. But there's some more cosmos. Look at that. Huh. It's nice to have flowers that you don't necessarily expect in the fall. Ooh, and here coming through, you can see all of the cucamelons hanging down. Whole bunch of them. Ooh, they went over to this side too, by the tomatoes. It's kind of neat.